Welcome once again to another WWE Raw Watch Party. This must feel like old times. This must feel at times like ancient history, when we did used to do Raw and SmackDown watch parties every single week. For many of you, you will never have even experienced that, but here we are. Tonight, it is WWE Raw. Tonight, it is, well, an agreeable time. So we are going to be watching in its entirety one more time. This is, of course, after a 4-hour clash in Paris, which delivered. I would definitely say delivered. We will have some news on that. We will be reacting to news on that, so there will still be spoiler warning elements of the show that you watch tonight. Hopefully, there'll be a few moments you can try and take viral if you're that way inclined, but if not, that also works, because we are just going to chill, we're going to watch wrestling, and we're going to have fun. Welcome back to Paris. And welcome to everyone in the chat so far. Declan, welcome. Bailey, welcome. Erin says, hey everyone. Hope you're all having good days. I'm having great days, thank you, Erin. Welcome to the show. Noob says, Mr. Colohue, how are you doing today? Early for you, Noob. How you doing, mate? We are back in the La Defensa Arena, using the same staging, so they haven't changed the stage out. And you know what? I think that was a good call this time around. It means we keep hold of our Eiffel Tower. I've been up at the top of that. I looked out at Paris laid out before me, and I said, get me the fuck out of here. Heights, they're not for me. It's quite tall. It's quite tall. So we've got the same setup as we had. Nothing really has changed except for what looks like an even bigger Slim Jim in the middle of the ring. That's not great. But we also, of course, have an element of the crowd where they know they're on camera, where they know they got celebrated yesterday, and where undoubtedly they're going to be looking to be celebrated again. Ishi, welcome. Says, hello, Tom. Hope you're okay. Doing well, thank you, Ishi. A shame we will not be seeing any Wyatt 6 tonight, but we did see them last night during the clash. So we've got our initial opening recap. We'll see how heavy this is on Becky Lynch, because the pivot's very much on her. I know a lot of people were expecting Brock Lesnar, but we have not had that. Ishi says, do you think we'll get Wyatt 6 versus Vision if Vision gets another male superstar? No, primarily because they're on different shows. And while anything is possible, Uncle Howdy is not Bray Wyatt and is not considered to be at a Seth Rollins level. Not a lot of focus ended up on Roman Reigns. There's a lot of wrestling days nowadays, and I like that. I'm glad we get a lot of him. Bailey says, how large is the Eiffel Tower compared to Tower in your region? 3 times. Blackpool Tower is a 1/3 scale of the Eiffel Tower replica. So we do indeed get a focus on Becky Lynch. First bit of news, Nikki Bella is very upset by the reaction from the crowds, and the WWE think the internet are basically dickheads. A lot of people in WWE really do actually quite like Nikki Bella, and they think she did alright for her first match back in a long time. The internet, or Twitter I should say, has pissed off a lot of people as usual. Noom says Paris is extremely crowded like crazy. Having been there, yes. Yes. Erin says, I enjoy the watch parties. The watch parties and the Paris crowd are the main reasons why I'm too inclined to watch. Why I'm not too inclined to watch during this. Why I'm more inclined? Are you more inclined to watch during this time abroad? Are we going for? Don't fully understand. We're going to get a lot of focus on the Roman write-off. A lot of focus. They're going to be celebrating that for months. And while, again, I do believe... Gotcha, no worries, Aaron. While I do believe this is a build towards an AJ Lee return, and I'm... Like, it's always been up to her. The WWE have always been interested. It's always been up to her. I do also feel excited for the inevitable CM Punk versus Becky Lynch match, because, I don't know. I fancy his chances of surviving that one. They tried to hide the table spot. It was a botch table. It was awkward for everyone involved. Still focusing on truly alone. He's Seth Rollins. He's married to Becky Lynch. There is no such thing as alone. Why are we not considering the reality of the situation here? He always had Becky. It's not new. She's always been there. CM Punk gets pinned. I find it interesting which headlines they choose to use, because the headlines they're using tell the narrative that they already want to tell. So, for example, the Forbes headline, Becky Lynch escapes Nikki Bella. That's the story that they want to tell. CM Punk is waiting for Seth. Seth does not have to come through there. He will find a way in. Noob says the Becky reveal is shocking. Okay. I'll take your word for it. I said after WrestleMania this pairing would eventually happen. I didn't necessarily expect it to happen last night, but we are where we are. Kabuki Warriors in action against Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. A lot of R's in that. A lot of R's. We, of course, will be focusing on Dominik Mysterio versus AJ Styles, which I'm excited for. Is Penta walking into Gorilla? Did they have nowhere else they could get ready, so he just walked into Gorilla? Well, the Viking Raiders are back. Been a while. Been a while. Jey Uso again having to push people out of the way. This is not going to work out long term, is it? This is not going to work out long term. Jey Uso opening the show. I'd imagine he has revenge on his mind. Jey versus Bron. Jey versus Bronson. Plenty of opportunities there. Mick, welcome, mate. Society Tom. Hope you're fine. Have a great stream. Thank you very kindly, Mick. Once again, just like to share my appreciation for the work that you do promoting what I do. I know that, and I get a notification every time a piece of my work goes onto your TikTok feed, and I appreciate you for sharing. Thank you as always. Declan, indeed, we still have some cherry coke. Ishii says, will Vision still add one more member? They will add as many members as they want to, and then they will stop. Sean says, do you think AJ versus Dominik will be the main event? I do. The alternative is, of course, that they establish a main event right now in the opening scene. If the match is already announced, it feels like the obvious main event for me, but when it comes to the whole Vision faction, Raw is being booked around Seth Rollins right now. So if Seth Rollins wants that main event, he will get it. Noob says, let's put some drama on the Kabuki Warriors side for once, because we already have enough Rhea Ripley and Io Sky antics for the last few weeks, which is not a bad shout. We do need to kind of re-establish Asuka and Kairi Sane. Give them a chance to really make things happen. Will says, before last night, did you hear of WWE trying to get AJ Lee back? Yes. So I've reported on this a few times. When it comes to AJ Lee, the WWE have sent a message to her several times stating that they are very interested in her return. It is AJ Lee who has said no thank you. What this means is the door is still open. And in fact, the WWE did this with CM Punk many moons ago. When CM Punk signed with AEW, the WWE were very interested and very nearly had him over the line at that time, as officially reported here. The first reports that CM Punk was negotiating with AEW came on the Tom Colohue channel. Declan, I know what you're asking. Haven't heard anything about Becky Lynch being involved. I wouldn't be too surprised if we end up with a Bronson Reed Jey Uso main event here. Bailey says, my guess is that AJ eventually comes back, but not in 3 weeks. No, I wouldn't say so. Though again, we're closer to Royal Rumble than not. I also think she may argue that she wants to be April rather than AJ. Declan's still enjoying the stage, which WWE have not messed around with. Though once again, that Slim Jim ad in the middle of the ring is unnerving. I never notice when I'm watching New Japan. Genuinely never spot them. Ishii, that's where I'm leaning as well. Stephanie versus Io for the vacant women's title. Former champion versus number one contender. Makes sense to me. I don't think you can really argue about the concept. Okay, typically here we end up starting the music again. Man's still over, why the hell not? Yep, we're going to start it again. His promo is not going to start until 15 minutes into the show. We'll have to Roman being a long promo. That's a boo for Jey. It's a nice looking watch. I've never understood how magic tape works, but apparently it actually does. The man is sad. He needs his brother. This would be a great time for the Usos versus Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. Noob says, per Corey from Body Slam, we're getting a feud between Asuka and Rhea Ripley. I believe that will keep Rhea occupied. Also, to be fair, per everyone on Twitter who's been watching the show, that does not surprise me. Declan says, hit the like button, everyone, and if you haven't already, please do consider doing so. And Ishii is bombarding the chat rate. Thank you kindly. Let's change our title. Jey Uso calls out the Vision. Well, we already know Seth's not there. Logically, this is going to be LA Knight coming out. It is LA Knight coming out. I mean, he needs a tag team partner. He might have got one here. Punk's got other business to attend to. Sean says, Corey's telling us things we already knew. Yeah, and he's not the only one. I will be getting on to some of the big headline news that's come out since the show, since Clash in Paris. There's a really big piece of news that I'd love to cover. Y'all can't wait for this one. Y'all really can't wait. In fact, let's get straight into it because it's LA Knight and, you know, we all know what's going on there. Per Fightful, Brock Lesnar was spotted in Canada this past week. He wasn't planned for Clash in Paris. This was reported after Clash in Paris. So to be clear, Fightful Select are not only convincing people to pay for news, but also earning headlines by reporting that Brock Lesnar wasn't supposed to be at Clash in Paris after Brock Lesnar wasn't at Clash in Paris. Talk about telling us things we already knew. Erin says pulling Jimmy to Raw for that to be a feud would also create some space for Wyatt versus MFT to potentially start. I agree with that. The Wyatts are working with a few more tag teams, but I think they'll get there around November time. LA Knight's in an interesting position in that if he wasn't there, the story would still be exactly the same. I mean, you put Braun Strowman in that position, nothing changes. Also very taped up. Okay, that was supposed to be a banger and it really wasn't. What's with the negging me? They're just getting a bit mean. Sean says quite a lot. Not happy that Sammy won the title. They wanted it to be Jimmy. Jimmy Uso is simply not considered a major player by the WWE. And I don't blame them. Jimmy very much took the blame for the Uso versus Uso match at WrestleMania being bad. He very much took the blame. I'm learning a lot over the years that he's been doing it about LA Knight's promo style. The trick is shout. Get out of it. See, Jey Uso, good promo, one sentence. LA Knight ready to start shouting. Ishii, I don't know where you're going with that. Once again, no Seth, but a Bronson Reed and a Bron Breakker. There is a separation going on here. They have their own merch, and they are doing their own storylines. They are not just Seth's backup. No Paul Heyman either. Again, he ended with yeah, but that was kind of crap. Bron Breakker already better and getting a better response. Bailey says, who do you see as the biggest NXT men's and women's performer that hasn't yet been called up? Difficult. Obafemi is the obvious one, I feel. Women's, I'd be going towards Zarya, personally. Though Jordan Grace does stand out. Jey Uso representing the OTC. LA Knight, of course, not happy about that. Bron recognising that the crowd want to have their say. He, of course, is going to pretend to be annoyed by that. Bronson Reed is not currently carrying shoes. And you know what? I thought the entire thing was ridiculous, but he's missing something. And what he's missing turns out to be shoes. Good response. Bron Breakker don't need nobody. We will find out, Ishii. Nice, nice. That is an honourable chant to have. That is a respectful chant. This is proper heat. I'm enjoying this. I don't know. I think Paris really has elevated these two. They've both been doing great work, but reaction-wise, they've been feeding off Seth. Sean says, if Paul Heyman is the Oracle, does that mean Seth is Batman? Seth's always been Batman. And not one of the good ones either. Ishii, you're asking this every show. There is no donation coming through. Don't know why. Couldn't tell you, but it's definitely not on my side. I appreciate your intent. There's nothing I can do about it. If it does come through, you know you'll get your squats. Promise you that. Nothing happened, is she? Not a thing. Looks like we are going to get a tag team main event. Again, that was undoubtedly supposed to be a killer line, and I don't think anyone really got it. I didn't really get it. Okay, our first 20 minutes was a few catchphrases. A few nice intense moments. I liked when Jey dropped the volume there, really proving a point. I also like that LA Knight and Jey aren't necessarily too angry with each other. There is some respect there. Also, I've got to say, I like that CM Punk's not involved. This is something that's a lot more focused on Bron and Bronson. They are proving to be the killers that we knew they could be. So I'm interested to see this one. We'll see how it goes. And we're once again going through the announced team. I don't see value in this. I don't know why they have to keep doing it. Especially when they still haven't fixed the audio issue. We can't hear the man. Still. You have not learned your lesson. But they did make a little house. They made a little house. Ooh, okay. Little change there. And we're now putting folks into Rhea Ripley. It is interesting seeing Rhea and Becky so far apart right now, when they are like the best of enemies. Given plans with the Kabuki Warriors here, it does seem a bit awkward that they showed Roxanne losing. Probably better if they just showed the beatdown and the save. Showing Roxanne getting beaten up and losing is not going to do wonders for her career. Let people forget. I mean, wasn't it Road Dogg who said that wins and losses don't matter anymore? He wasn't actually wrong. I know a lot of people were very offended by that, but he was not wrong. Asuka and Kairi now dressed to wrestle. Decent pop for Sky. Love that top. That's a very nice little top. Io apologising. Oh no, no. Asuka's decided to kill her. Asuka has decided to kill her. Like actual straight up murder. Kairi seems okay with it. Asuka's just shutting her down. I get why they got rid of the damage control branding. This is a very different group with very, very different dynamics. So Rhea's definitely getting involved in this. definitely finding somewhere to get involved. Logically, there's a beatdown plan for Io. Does Judgment Day have a third person who can help out in the women's matches? Is Liv Morgan back? She wouldn't do that. I don't love that Roxanne's intro involves looking away and then finding the camera. She looks a little bit lost. Bit of a lost puppy. That sort of vibe, that sort of energy. I will say as well, this is more of a push towards the women's tag team division that WWE are trying to rebuild. So it's not all on the back of Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. Right thing to do. Absolutely the right thing to do. So let me just get up my notes, because we're going to a commercial break, even though technically we don't get those. And let's have a look at what happened during Clash in Paris. Right, so we'll start with the Roman Reigns and Bronson Reed match. I can tell you that Roman Reigns has been working with Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns is aware of the list that Seth Rollins put together. Bronson Reed was a late addition to that, and he is of the opinion that he can work with and definitely support the growth of these individuals. He was, of course, asking to work with Bron Breakker, as we know. He has since been working with Bronson Reed. The WWE put together a story very quickly, hence the thing about the shoes. But in the meantime, there is plenty that Roman Reigns is giving to these individuals. Now, the write-off was indeed to go away and film Street Fighter. It was also with the intention of ensuring that Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker get a pretty strong push. It's also one of the reasons we didn't see Seth Rollins at all in that setup. He was not involved in the beatdown. He did not take anyone out. It was all Bronson Reed and all Bron Breakker. The decision was made to ensure that the focus was entirely on the new up-and-comers rather than Seth Rollins. Roman still picked up the win because ultimately he is still Roman Reigns, and the WWE believed that Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker would get their heat back in spades, so there was no need to have Roman Reigns take a loss which could prove costly in order to make it happen. So that's where we are. Roman Reigns is doing what he can for the next generation, as is Seth Rollins, as indeed Becky Lynch will be. But we'll get to Becky Lynch in a little while. I'm going to go through every match and cover as much of the news as I can. I will be doing it during the commercial breaks, so I'll pick my moments for it. But the next match will be Wyatt Six versus Street Profits. So if you are watching on a feed which gives you commercial breaks, at least you've got something to do in the meantime. Sean says, do you think this is leading to an Io-Rhea tag team? Yeah, I definitely think we'll see a Rio tag team, at least briefly, though I do think it will be mostly out of self-defense, and it is building towards another feud in which Rhea Ripley finally gets her win over Io Sky. Bailey says, is the John Cena retirement tour a first look at how WWE prepares for the Roman Reigns retirement tour? No. The John Cena retirement tour has been almost entirely booked and prepared by John Cena himself. The Roman Reigns retirement tour is already happening. It's just happening over a much slower period. Roman Reigns has seen what happens to people like Goldberg, who can't get over the way they went out, and he doesn't want to be that guy. He wants to go out on his back several times and give back while doing so. He's not the only one. In fact, the WWE right now, and I'm going to have to make a football reference here, are starting to get a very old roster. You see the focus on people like Seth, like Roman, like CM Punk as well, AJ Styles. Older wrestlers are heavily involved in the main event scene. LA Knight, for example. Because of that, the WWE are getting concerned about people getting stuck at the top. So you look at, for example, Damian Priest. He was in a position where he's getting a little older now. He can still go, but there isn't really much advantage to giving him a solid and dependable push. So the WWE will think about what they're doing when it comes to those moments. Because of that, they're looking at ways to refresh. They're looking at ending some contracts. they are deciding that people like Karrion Kross are not necessarily worth it, and they are considering more dependable younger names that they can put the focus into, such as we mentioned, Rhea Ripley, Bron Breakker, Dominik, Mysterio. There is a reason that AJ Styles has not signed a full long-term deal. He's basically on a handshake deal with a little bit of formality to it at the moment. There's plenty of break clauses, and he is intending to go back to TNA as soon as he can. But the terms that were on offer for AJ Styles for a full contract were not believed to be worth his time. Declan says, why couldn't we hear the French announcer? Couldn't tell you. Good old-fashioned technical issues. Roxanne Perez and Asuka should be a fun one. I also think she and Kairi Sane could be fun, but I don't think we've really had enough of that. I'd also say the crowd don't really seem to understand what reaction they're supposed to give Asuka. Is she a face? Is she a heel? I don't think the fans are really aware. Reminds me, I need to change my title, because Jey Uso has finished calling out the Vision, and now Kabuki Warriors versus Judgment Day. So they're advertising Dominik versus AJ, but they're not advertising it as the main event. Ooh, Dragon Lee Finn Balor could be fun. A lot of Judgment Day on the card lately. I know obviously the focus is on Rollins and the Vision, but they're not the only faction that's really getting a lot of attention. In a show as long as WWE Raw, you do need more than one. A very brief amount of octopus there. Raquel Rodriguez doesn't seem to want to sell for Asuka. When you consider who Asuka is and how much power there is behind those strikes, you should probably sell for Asuka. Although I get why you might not sell for Kairi. She is very small. Roxanne shouting at a tag partner. Kairi Sane rarely does well against powerhouses. She's been injured by Nia Jax on a number of occasions. She's been injured by Charlotte Flair on a number of occasions. There's not a lot of her. And I do feel sometimes that heavier wrestlers don't realise how much power they have when it comes to someone like Kairi Sane. Now, working with someone like Roxanne Perez, you will get used to it. There are smaller wrestlers now than there used to be regularly wrestling. And if AJ Lee returns, that'll be another one. But not everyone can be a powerhouse like Becky Lynch, like Charlotte Flair. Lovely cover. We've been talking about good pins. That was a good one. Bailey says, speaking of older wrestlers, Asuka is still a great performer. She turns 44 this month. While that is true, I would argue, and I've said for a while, that the WWE don't necessarily see Asuka as top level anymore. They don't want to put the focus on her as a world champion when they could be looking at Io Sky, when they could be looking at Rhea Ripley, when they could be looking at Lyra Valkyria. This is, of course, one of the main reasons that Becky Lynch is currently a mid-card champion rather than a world champion. Sean says, Alexa, Roxanne, Candice and Kairi are all small wrestlers. Yes, and well, that's absolutely fair, Sean. Recently, not many of them have been actively wrestling. Roxanne's a recent call-up. Candice LeRae very rarely wrestles on TV. Kairi Sane has been injured. Alexa's been out of action having a baby. People get into their systems, people get into their rhythms. And sometimes people oversell. Zelina's a good shout, Declan. Fair point. You are getting a lot more of the smaller wrestlers now and getting them a lot more involved. And hopefully that means the bigger wrestlers recognise that they have to change their style sometimes. You have to be able to work with a multitude of systems, and while Raquel Rodriguez is currently changing her style to the more powerhouse way, she does have to adapt a little bit and sell a little more for people like Kairi Sane, and possibly eventually for a Roxanne Perez, because while her place in Judgment Day has just been assured and the whole Finn Balor sneaking her in thing has been abandoned since Liv Morgan was injured, she is still relatively new to the roster and working out her place there. The tag team with Julia still confuses me. I don't understand why that happened. I think that might be a Seth Rollins impersonator. Interesting. The Prime bottle is already down. Somebody call the cops. You've lost your Prime. Guys, quick heads up. We have 19 people watching right now, only the 8 likes. If you can, have a quick check. And let me know if you've already hit that like button. We'll see if we can get that up to double figures. Yes, Declan, there's plenty of WWE contracts up this year. Most of them will quietly be re-signed for less money. Essentially, if someone's not on TV very much, chances are they've got a new deal coming. Good cover there from Roxanne. That was a good cover. Sean says, speaking of yesterday, Tom, when mentioning WWE not wanting to clear people to wrestle, was Kairi saying one of them? Yes. When she was brought back, it was in a time when Triple H was saying, here's how we beat AEW. We bring back this person, we bring back this person, blah, blah, blah. In her most recent return, Kairi Sane had to go through some pretty rigorous testing, but she did prove that she was absolutely fine to wrestle. WWE are aware that Kairi Sane is not the most reliable, unfortunately. It's why she wrestles rarely. It's why she rarely wrestles singles matches. She unfortunately does have a little bit of the same reputation as Dakota Kai, a former stablemate of hers. Yes, Noob, all signs point to a heel turn for Asuka. And then, of course, an Asuka versus Io Sky feud, which I have no issue with. Asuka, of course, will work through Rhea. There'll be some tag matches in the meantime. But I feel we can all be pretty confident as to where we're headed. Crowd are a bit restless here. I feel like the match is taking too long. Declan says the Kabuki Warriors are the longest reigning tag team champions. Was not aware of that. They're really using that drone shot a lot. Botch. Kairi Sane couldn't lift Roxanne Perez. Well done by Roxanne there, to be honest. Pivoted right. Told Kairi Sane, yeah, we've botched. We're not doing the move again. We're doing something else. Something which very much went wrong in the Sheamus Rusev match. Don't revisit botches. Bailey says, however much an injury label is put on Dakota Kai, she seems more capable to get future work than Tegan Nox at this point. And I believe that's true. There are also, unfortunately, some smaller promotions that do conflate the two when they shouldn't. Big pop for an Asuka hot tag. Big pop there. Now, logically, Io Sky's got to get involved here in some capacity. But I do think it makes Kabuki Warriors look pretty weak if they can't handle the two of them on their own. Maybe we get cheap shots. Maybe they pick up the win and Roxanne takes a pin and then Raquel attacks from behind. No idea. There was a couple of awkward moments shown, but don't know. Is she? Mate, I think we can say it's not working. Definition of madness is just trying something a million times, thinking it's going to change anything. Do you know, mate? I would be contacting YouTube support. Noob says, I get the feeling that either Rhea Ripley or Io Sky show up and cost the match. Logically, Io should be the one. Rhea Ripley's been warned to stay away. Something's gone wrong there. Too much Raw. I would suggest that Io Sky comes out to help, gets beaten up, and then Rhea Ripley comes out to help Io Sky. Big Asuka chant as well. Raquel Rodriguez showing off. And Roxanne Perez showing off. I'm annoyed that she doesn't get a bigger pop for that move. Saying putting herself into a awkward shot there. Keep your head forward. Keep your head forward. Not sure why she went to the ropes there. It's made it easy for her. Roll up. Logically, this is Asuka's to win. Yep. That should be that. Roxanne should tap. Oh, no. Nicely done. Alright, Eric, how you doing, mate? Kyrie looking to fly. I miss Neville. It's difficult to catch someone when they're coming at you so directly from above. No, awkward. Missed the move. Completely missed her own finisher. Wait, what's happening? Yeah, you missed the finisher, mate. Yeah, maybe you were going for the pin, but you missed your finisher. Yeah, tap. Again, I will say, probably Roxanne calling it. If you botch the move, don't try and do the move again, and don't ignore the botch. Get on with the match, do something else. Yeah, adapt. That's what you need to do. If you botch, accept that you've botched. The elbow drop to a standing opponent does not work at all. And Noob, I'd imagine you're pretty happy with that overall. It's another win for Asuka. Unhappy looking Raquel. They're incredibly cute together. To me, they're proving a point. What's going on, Adam? Okay, Women's World Championship. Let's hear it. Two worthy competitors. Stephanie Vaca. Wonder who the other one is. Io Sky. This is starting to sound familiar, isn't it? Three weeks from now, Io Sky will take on Stephanie Vaca. And I'd imagine, because of Asuka, Stephanie Vaca will be your next Women's World Champion. We spoke yesterday about the fact that my reporting is fairly reliably proven correct. And it's going to be funny if you're someone who follows Twitter, watching people take victory laps, saying that they knew this was going to happen, and ignoring the fact that I'm the only one who outright said it was going to happen. If you want to get the word out, pick your favourite social media and let them know. The way we grow is by pure word of mouth. So, if you want to, just put the word out there. I'm going to check my YouTube, see if I've got the video in which I said it has an easy title. I believe I had Naomi in the thumbnail for it, so I can see exactly when it was. What am I live? What do we got here? SummerSlam. Hogan. Evolution 2. Doesn't look like it features a Naomi thumbnail. Looks like it did at some point. Let's have a look back. I believe then it will be Sami Zayn for the Rumble one, 2026. That was a month ago. Title is Sami Zayn for WWE Royal Rumble 2026. We've got explaining Brock Lesnar's SummerSlam return. Sadly, a lot of Brock Lesnar stuff. Ugh. Those are 3 weeks ago ones. Very different show we're doing nowadays. Either way, it be that. Absolutely, is she? Absolutely. Eric says, is Asuka's heel run going to be a short run or a long run? I think the character that Asuka is currently transitioning into will be the final character she plays in the WWE. I think that probably answers your question. Finn Balor on his way down. It is from one Judgment Day team to another. And we still have more because we've got Dominik and AJ still to come. Sean says Io versus Stephanie will be good, but of course you'll see those saying it should have happened at Clash. Yeah, you'll hear people saying whatever they want to say. Should have been sooner, should have been now. How soon is now? I am the sun and I am the air. People rant and people rave. It's all very silly. Let's make a post, shall we? We'll make a post. WWE have confirmed that Stephanie Vaquer will face Io Sky for the currently vacant WWE Women's World Championship. Now first, I need to find out for sure which one this is, and the way I do this is by headlines. Y'all will remember that for my live shows, I always start with headlines so that everyone knows what the show is going to be about. So, let's make sure that's down. And let's see what we can find out, shall we? Ooh, where's my hole? Where's my hole? There's my hole. Dragon Lee. I forgot who he was facing. I completely forgot who he was facing. So is it this one? Let's find out, guys. Yep, that audio is not coming through my ears and I don't know why. Screw it. Okay, let's have a look. Seth Rollins flying under the radar, so it's not that one. I report so much, guys. So much. Gonna keep track of my descriptions. CM Punk and Seth Rollins. Ugh. Jesus Christ, I talk a lot, don't I? Oh, no, there it is. 2 weeks ago. There it is. Got it. John Cena retirement match versus AEW. Stephanie Vaquer to benefit from Naomi absence. Lovely. So, for more details on this, check out Spoiler Warning, where we reported on this 2 weeks ago. Attach a video, because we do that. Make it a live one. John Cena retirement match versus AEW and post. Yeah, I was trying to make sure we didn't end up with double me, because nobody wants double me, but we are where we are. Bailey says, what events are held in La Defense Arena to have a capacity of 30,000? Well, I mean, Clash in Paris, technically. That's an interesting hairstyle, JD. It's a very interesting hairstyle. So, let's change our title. always start with a bigger name, so Finn Balor in this case, versus Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee's not won a lot of matches. He's sort of there. Don't get me wrong, he's one of the new up-and-comers, so you wouldn't expect him to win a lot of matches, but, I mean, he hasn't. Declan, I'm not sure. My guy was going to be Sami Zayn. Not so much now. I think Bianca Belair's in the show. When she eventually returns. I think Stephanie Vaquer versus Bianca Belair could be a lot of fun. But it depends. Depends who's the champion come the time. If Io Sky picks up the win, imagine if it was Asuka. Big pop for Rhea. The crowds recently have definitely had the Raw After Mania energy going on. Bailey, difficult to say. Bron's a good shout, and I definitely think he'd be very good, particularly if he was challenging Seth. I don't think we're there yet, though. So I certainly wouldn't say Saudi, but potentially could be the year after next. Give him another year and a half with the vision to really build, then give him the Batista treatment. Declan, I was leaning towards Stephanie Vaquer. And I think before the injuries, we probably were going to see Stephanie Vaquer beating Becky Lynch at WrestleMania to win the Intercontinental Championship. Instead, given the level of success she's had, we're fast-tracking. I ain't upset by this. Not upset by this at all. Okay, so far we're only about a third of the way through Raw. Only had the one match so far, but halfway through the second one. Finn Balor versus anyone should be incredible. We've seen Finn versus AJ quite recently. It was okay. The majesty of Finn Balor has faded. He's another one that I think successive contract offers have gotten successively worse. Declan will share the news as we get to it, mate. And it just feels like he's not a big deal anymore. No, Sean, I think we'll see Bianca Belair relatively soon. Like, she's fine, they're letting other things play out. We're on our third commercial break, really. Let's pop back to my notes on Clash in Paris. Next match I want to discuss is the Wyatt Six versus the Street Profits. WWE were very happy with the performance of both teams in the Wyatt Six versus Street Profits match. There is a clear intention to turn the Wyatt Six heel, but I'm told that this was primarily because of a concern that the WWE have that fans aren't 100% behind the Street Profits because they didn't have an actual face turn. They were heels, they won some matches, people started cheering for them, here they are. The Wyatt Six are at this point working as a tandem, but there are plans for each individual member. Nikki Cross versus B-Fab is something that I've mentioned previously. Eric Rowan as the powerhouse needs someone to work against, but so far he hasn't really wrestled much, and neither has Bo Dallas. They were trialling the new concept, Bo Dallas walking around himself backstage, trying to play him out as a separate character to Uncle Howdy, whereas naturally he is not. The match itself was good. They were teasing a breakup of Street Profits because there is a belief that the Street Profits have done everything that they possibly could as a unit. However, the WWE don't necessarily want to break them up. They just believe that the ceiling for Montez Ford is basically impenetrable. That he can be the biggest thing the company's ever seen. They believe that Montez Ford has Shawn Michaels' energy. As regards the Wyatt Six, they will stay in the tag division for a while longer. They've retained the championship belts and they will still be working in and around that section. There are other tag teams for them to work with. I mentioned DIY as a possibility, for example, before eventually smashing into the MFT. At that point, they will once again be faces. Well, I was saying that I didn't feel that Finn Balor felt like a big deal, but the crowd here certainly seemed to disagree. We're going to cover one match at a time here and cover as much of my notes and information as I can. Next up will be the Becky Lynch versus Nikki Bella match. And yeah, there's quite a lot to cover on that one. Sean says, do you think a face turn is needed for Finn Balor? Needed is a stretch. I think he's doing good work. He's overall happy with his position on the card. He's not pushing for more. And if he's not pushing for more, why would you give him more, you know? If he was pushing towards World Championships, I think they'd give him a feud with Cody. And I think there's scope for a decent Balor versus Cody Rhodes feud. It's just that he doesn't actually seem that interested. What I'm told is Finn Balor has stopped pushing. Going for the mask? They're definitely bringing back the tit slaps. Oh, lovely German suplex. Declan, my opinion is that it'll still be Nikki Bella, but I'll talk about that more detail later. There's a lot that may have changed in that regard, and it's not good news per se. Oh, lovely. Dragon Lee's very good, and Finn Balor's a perfect opponent for him. He knows how to do the flips. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean. Thank you, Declan. Appreciate you for that as well. So the crowd are definitely getting into it, and starting to feel like this is already a bigger vibe match than the match against AJ. Oh, Balor knew exactly what to roll into there. I don't know if they've coordinated this or they were just prepared. Lovely. Thank you, Ishii, for that. I appreciate it. In addition to the football today, I've been keeping a rough eye on transfer deadline day. Because it technically ended a very short amount of time ago. Apparently my team, Liverpool, missed out on a signing. Man United got rid of Anthony. They paid 90 million for him. They eventually got 20 million for him. Good work then. A 50% sell-on clause. Oof. Ugly. Igor to West Ham, which obviously sounds very Frankenstein. A lot of players not really moving. Who the hell is JD Canvo? Awkward. Yeah, it looks like that deal fell through. I remember Odson Edward. He was supposed to be really good, and he just wasn't. He just wasn't. Players going from Spurs. Everton are signing a guy. Yeah, Mark Gahey to Liverpool is off. Meanwhile, nothing so far on Alexander Isak. Yeah, Declan is a fair shout. Becky Lynch is definitely a fighting champion. Oh, lovely. Dragon Lee is so good and he never wins matches. He literally jumped over the entire rope into a Hurricane Rana. This is a man who flies. Is he going to do the stomp? Because Finn Balor should definitely dodge this. Thank you. Like, no one in the entire company should be able to do a literal sit-up with the tenacity of Finn Balor. Have you seen those abs? Dragon Lee, what are you doing, mate? Firstly, losing another match, but secondly, what are you doing, mate? I mean, you made it look great, but I think you're probably really genuinely hurt there. Probably ended up with Finn Balor getting a proper owie there. Not an injury, but an owie. Don't get me wrong, we can blame JD and classic Judgment Day tactics. Very House of Torture. But, like, what were you doing, mate? Why were you on your side? You were lifted up, so you wanted it. You wanted to do it like that. That was intentional. Looked amazing. Probably really genuinely hurt. Crowd is still into it. If anything, Balor's the face here. Sean says, is Bayley and the Finn and Asuka not seen as a big deal anymore? Would the contract offers for her be high? The contract offers for her would be continuing. At the moment, Bayley is not considered top star. Players like Rhea Ripley are considered to have overtaken her. Asuka's not happy with the Nikki Bella at all. She is not friend. Bit of an abusive relationship here. Okay, yeah, Kyrie definitely giving away that they have evil plans. Kyrie's facial expressions get me every time. I feel like you missed 5 or 6 different lines there. Everything will be alright. Pushy's a word for it. Oh, why is there a WWE podcast network? This is not something. WWE getting into the podcasting market 10 years too late. Trying to close the gap. You understand that that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you tune into them and not people like me. And it is actually working. The New Day. We have some 6-man tag action. New Day formally inducting Grayson Waller. He's actually working with them. Although I do like New Day and Grayson Waller. I've also got to respect Kofi Kingston for putting together some of the worst facial hair in the known world. The man knows how to make people hate him. Bayley, very easily. Very easily. He's popular with the right people. Okay, so just Grayson. We probably need to communicate this. Xavier Woods shouldn't have taken the phone. He knocked it out of his hand, but it was still okay. He avoided stepping on it because he didn't want to actually cause it damage. Kofi Kingston then tripped on it, tried to kick it out of the way, failed because it bounced off the barricade, and then Grayson Waller stamped on it. WWE owes someone a phone. Y'all went too far. Sean says, was WWE gaining Logan's podcast a part of the deal to sign him? Right. This is a difficult one because WWE, their podcast network is pay limitations. So on the WWE network, they had Up, Down, Down. They had Becky Lynch playing Mortal Kombat. I'm talking about M&M's. Red Velvet M&M's. Anyway, it wasn't Up, Down, Down. It was a WWE variant of Up, Down, Down. Much like 6 Feet Under is not 6 Feet Under. It's a WWE variant of 6 Feet Under. Much like the Stone Cold podcast was not the Broken Skull sessions. They were 2 separate things. There was a WWE variant of it. So it's not quite Impulsive. It just looks like, smells like, and is called Impulsive. We'll see how it goes, Declan. We have, of course, seen Nikki Bella backstage. Possibly building towards the Brie Bella return. Given that he just made a cheese joke, Brie Bella seems to make sense. Xavier was wearing a neck brace. I genuinely thought that was just a fashion implement. They're talking about the guy who was working yesterday, mate. I think New Day need to break up. I was never someone who believed it. I always believed they'd be absolutely fine. But they are completely frozen in place. They're doing nothing. That's a challenge. Rise to it. And now we're muting. Oh, now I've worked out what they're saying. Good thing this is during a quote-unquote commercial break. A lot of swearing. I've had the a-hole chant as well. Bailey says if New Day break up, there's really no singles career for either of them at this point. Unfortunately, I would argue that that's the case either way. They are frozen in place. They're kind of going nowhere. So they're still chanting New Day sucks even though we've gone backstage. Dominik is probably talking to El Grande again. Bear with. Do apologise. Okay. Adam Pearce picking a fight. Doesn't matter if they're banned, he's got El Grande. That has no impact whatsoever. He is. Bailey, difficult one. They've actually not wrestled in the tag division very long. So I wouldn't necessarily go that far. There is still quite a bit they can do. Finn and JD didn't seem very upset there, did they? I believe that's true, Sean, yes. Even during Colohue Mania, the New Day was still a tag team. Pushing again for the Dominik Mysterio versus AJ Styles match. I'm disappointed it's not main eventing. It should have. So Penta and the Viking Warriors. This is going to be an interesting matchup. Or should I just say pairing? Penta's still got a great look. I don't think they're doing anything better than what they were doing with him in AEW, if I'm honest. Like, yeah, great wrestler. Great look. That's all I've got. Not enough for me. Sean says, surprised they kept El Grande going in Chad's absence. Yeah, I kind of get it personally, primarily because I don't understand why that would matter. Like, you promote someone like El Grande to a more prominent spot when you lose someone like Chad, who's a reliable wrestler. Like, it just creates opportunities for people like El Grande. It's weird. People have told me recently El Grande is a different person. Like, El Grande Americano is El Grande Americano. from the Gulf of America, which is apparently a real place, and not all a convenient fiction made up by Donald Trump. If the War Raiders embraced it, just properly embraced it, they could have a Penta vibe. They've never really got over. I think the closest they got was when they were working with the Street Profits during the pandemic. That was a wild ride. El Grande knows everything, Bailey, let's be fair. El Grande might right now be in that crowd. How would you know? No one's ever seen his face. I do, Sean, and I remember loving it. I was a heavy Viking Raiders guy. Well, sorry, a heavy Viking Profits guy. It was a roller coaster, and it never ended. It was an incredible, incredible experience. You had to be there. When I hear people say, like, you weren't there, man, you don't know. The Viking Profits is what I think of. Like, there's nothing else in my mind that it could possibly refer to. Possibly Ishii. I think the main reason the Wyatt Six are currently heels is that most of the SmackDown Tag Division are faces. And they were just wrestling against people that they wanted to protect. Personally, I still think it was mostly based on convenience. And we're away. Xavier Woods starting against Penta. I think I need to change my title. And I don't have space to fit everyone, so I'm just going to put New Day versus Viking Raiders. I absolutely do have space. I don't know what I'm talking about. New Day with Grayson Waller. Viking Raiders with Penta. Had to be a little bit fancy there, but we made it work. Declan says the New Day throwing pancakes was funny. I remember them coming out of a big Budio box. This was when I first started watching again, and I had no idea who the New Day were. I had no idea who Kofi Kingston was. They were genuinely entertaining. Francesca was, well, incredibly painful, but in a way that makes you remember things. Bailey says, what is the future of Pretty Deadly? They always seem to be a comedy act. Yeah. This works against them. They have the Breezango vibe. I would imagine right now there's a contract dispute going on and they're just trying to sign them again. Just because they've gone so quiet. Maybe there's an injury. Maybe there's a personal issue of some sort. But they vanished off the face of the earth. I'm surprised they haven't even just popped up for a moment on Raw or something. Just done the job for somebody, but no. It's a very strong tag division. They really need to share because Raw is struggling. Judgment Day have no real competition. Especially with the New Day being heels. Like, who would they actually wrestle? Viking Raiders already been there, done that. Not really getting the reactions either. So who do we have? Let's just say WWE don't trust them, Declan. Let's just leave it at that. WWE don't trust them. They know better. Because, I mean, they'll bring back Brock Lesnar. But on this one, they know better. Grayson Waller and Kofi Kingston having a variant of the Unicorn Stampede in which they just kick the shit out of each other. Ain't complaining. Next match. Because we're technically in a commercial break, let's talk about the next match on Clash in Paris. And We are talking about Becky Lynch versus Nikki Bella. Now, the WWE were aware going into this match that Nikki Bella had some ring rust, so there was quite a lot of rehearsal time to try and get this over the line and trying to make sure everyone came out of this looking good. The WWE were open to the idea of more Nikki Bella, but because of Nikki Bella's schedule, they wanted to make it look like Becky escaped so that they could return to the match if they so chose. The intention of the WWE was to use the match as a bit of a soft launch. They were trying to get Brie Bella to come back, resulting in a Nikki and Brie Bella, or the Bella Twins tag team, going into the tag division to wrestle teams like Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, but also teams like Judgment Day. That would be a way to really help bolster that division. There was also a hope that bringing Brie Bella back would start to entice Bryan Danielson. Now, Bryan Danielson is someone that the WWE are eager to bring back into the WWE fold, not in a wrestling capacity, but with the intention of having him joining the creative team. This has not gone the way WWE intended it to. The primary reason being, the fans seemingly hated the match to such a degree that Nikki Bella is actually quite upset about the whole thing. Brie Bella is not particularly inclined to join the WWE again because they saw what happened with Rhea Ripley as well. In fact, there are a number of wrestlers who the WWE are interested in or who currently have WWE ID contracts that, having seen the level of attention that comes with being a WWE wrestler, are starting to have second thoughts. This is also one of the reasons a number of wrestlers are no longer pushing towards the top. And it's a historical reason a number of women's wrestlers tend to avoid the spotlight rather than seeking it out. So there's some news for you. Hopefully that's what you guys are looking for. Hello Marcel, good to see you, mate. Says, I'm still at work. How is Raw? Is it good or not? All right. Opening segment was solid. Finn Balor versus Dragon Lee was good. Yeah, that's kind of it. I'd give it a B- so far, which arguably is a decent rating. The crowd is definitely helping. I don't think that surprises anyone. Declan, if they're making that change, it's last second. They'll be finding her someone. They'll be working through Becky's list. There's plenty of people she could work with. Honestly, based on storylines, I expect Becky Lynch's next opponent to be CM Punk. Which I would laugh at, because good luck, Punk. There's a reason Becky Lynch had to be hit with the end of days at one time. It's because if Brock Lesnar tried to cash in on Seth Rollins while Becky was conscious, he would not succeed. Penta showing off. Collapse long is a bit of a stretch. I mean, you've seen wrestling, right, Michael Cole? Interesting coup. I did manage to read that before you retracted it, but I'll leave it there. Declan, Becky cannot have all the championships no matter how often you want it. If Becky has all of the championships, Stephanie Vaquer doesn't become what Stephanie Vaquer is capable of being. If Becky wins all the championships, she's in the way. They might not be doing much with Julia, but they're doing a hell of a lot more with Julia than they would be doing if she wasn't a champion. Bailey says, can WWE bring back the mixed match challenge as a one-off? There are more couples in the main roster than ever before. I'd be down for that. I enjoyed the mixed match challenge. I watched the first one religiously. I didn't really watch the second one. I thought he was sweet. I thought he was nice. I liked all of the backstage vignettes and everything. Team Little Big was incredible. And to be clear, that was all produced by the wrestlers themselves. That was down to the wrestlers to decide who they were going to be, what their storylines were, because there was no creative, there were no storylines. It was just a case of the WWE telling the wrestlers, this is what we're going to do. Get on your phones, make people care. If we get good ratings, we'll do more. It really did help establish Asuka because she was paired with The Miz. Xavier Woods takes the pin. Penta picks up the... My words are nothing. Penta picks up the win. Oh, I know, Sai, I know. But they're getting on a bit. We had to refresh the lineup. Plus, you know, we got Mark Gahey, except we don't. Apparently, all fell apart. I'm waiting for the announced Isak. Oh, that was a botch. Made it work. Koo says Bayley posted a photo of her and Punk. Is that the new feud for Becky and Rollins? Gotcha, mate. Don't worry about it. It could be. I don't necessarily see it because there's already a storyline being clearly played out for Bayley with Lyra Valkyria. Although it's definitely taking a while to get there. Need is a strong word, Declan. We are backstage with Kathy Kelly and Rhea Ripley, and if you look closely, and by closely, I mean if you even have one casual glance, you will see how madly in love with Rhea Ripley Kathy Kelly is. Literally every time she looks at her. That's what love looks like. Find you a woman who looks at you the way Kathy Kelly looks at Rhea Ripley. John says, I didn't like the Miz and Asuka team was protected by Asuka's undefeated streak. How would a tag team loss on her streak end her streak when it was a singles match undefeated streak? It wouldn't, but they were able to make it interesting by doing so, and that's how they ended up winning. Essentially, that's what the Miz decided. Asuka played along, it kind of worked out. Speaking of Asuka. Aside, did you end up getting Colohue? Because I actually like Dominik Solanke, but I think Colohue would end up being your top guy. Bailey says Kathy Kelly literally stared at Rhea the entire interview. Wouldn't you? Told you, get your woman. You've been making history for more than 10 years, Asuka. Oh, literally, as I say it, I have a quick read. And it says Colohue to Tottenham confirmed. Asuka versus Rhea seems pretty set in stone now. Kyrie saying just staying in shot. Is she going to say something to Rhea now? Rhea's not even looking at her. The facial expressions. As regards the transfer window, we'll get Mark Gahey next season. Yeah, that's exactly it, Si. We are heading into AJ Styles versus Dominik Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship. And you know what? I kind of fancy his chances here. I think Dominik Mysterio needs something new. He needs a refresh. The Intercontinental Championship has been good to him. He's used it to good effect. Move on. Sai says, I'm sure you'll get Gahey for free in the summer after you've walked away with the league again. We've got Gomez as a backup. We've got Giovanni Leone as well, who is unlikely to play too much in the first season, but we do have players. It just comes down to whether we get a serious injury to Van Dijk or Konate, really. Konate was sort of back to his best against Arsenal. As I have to say, was Kirkes. Sai says, we'll get the AJ song from the French for the entire match. Agree, he's probably winning. Noob says, yeah, we're getting a program between Asuka and Rhea Ripley, something that there's bad blood between them. Yeah, it's been building for a few weeks. Aaron says this should be a good match. It absolutely should. They've done okay in the past, but I definitely think there's a lot more they can do. AJ Styles should be Dominik Mysterio's perfect opponent. Guys, just turn down the music. They've turned down the music. Let him sing. He is, Si. He is. And so are they. I wonder if there'll be any reference to John Cena hitting a Styles Clash. I can imagine AJ hitting an AA tonight. He's really genuinely happy right now. Another drone shot. They don't want to go to commercial break. They've been told not to go to commercial break with the way this is going. That is an arena on their feet for a man. This should have been the main event. He was, Si. He was. I don't think that he actually formally turned face. He did, Declan, in Manchester way back when. Sean says, how do you think Asuka turns heel? Oh, I think she stops Io Sky from winning the championship and hands it to Stephanie Vaquer. I think that's how we get there. Oh, interesting, Sean. I'm still incredibly disappointed that Spider-Verse got moved to 2027. 2027. Are you kidding me? You gave me that cliffhanger. You gave me that movie with that cliffhanger, and then you pushed it back to 2027? Genuinely, we are spoiled for Spider-Man. Miles Morales is the best one. And we are spoiled. The entire commercial break is just watching AJ enjoy his life. I'm there for this. I'm absolutely there for this. Rusev versus Sheamus. Let's check my notes on this one. I mentioned during the match at Clash in Paris that this was all about making Rusev look good. Early on in the match, there were a couple of botchy moments. There was a couple of awkward spots. But in the end, because of the intensity and because this was very much Rusev's style, WWE are thrilled with the performance. That said, they're not entirely sure how to progress from here in a way that makes Rusev continue to look strong. So while there were some big spots and it was a big win, they are now looking for another big guy for him to take down. This is when it would have been really handy to have an Omos, a Braun Strowman, something like that. But we are lacking in powerhouse guys that a player like Rusev can absolutely destroy. There is already talk of Rusev versus Gunter. I don't see that happening for a while. So yeah, not too much on that particular one. Liam says this should have been on Clash in Paris, but then why would you tune into Raw? Don't think AJ Styles would. Also says these can go all night and I love it. AJ was dancing for a while, but I think he's out of energy. It's okay, it comes in waves. It comes in waves. No, Sean, there's been no talk of Rusev versus John Cena. He's not on the list. At least not on the WWE's list. The referee has basically just told AJ Styles, yes, there's still a camera on you. The entire commercial break was just the camera on AJ Styles. And now we're back from break and he's still jazzing him up. When they hit Dominik's music, the second they hit Dominik's music. Yes, I says penny for the ref's thoughts. Just telling AJ they were back. The other Mike welcome says Kyrie getting yelled at all night. Yeah, Asuka seems to have a little bit of a chip on her shoulder. Just a little bit. I have walked down those paths recently, in fact. There was a point in which we went over that bridge that's currently being shown. We looked at the Eiffel Tower and we said, that's not very far. We were wrong. We were wrong. We were averaging about 40,000 steps, or, to be clear, about 16 miles per day when we were in Paris. Regrets. Many of them. Also very few of them. Coot, welcome again. I know you chatted earlier, but says, I will say it's a very Brock thing to show up, hit someone with an F5 and then never show up. Well, he was supposed to be more involved, but he hit the F5 and then said to WWE, I need a vacation. I'm not even joking. Roxanne Perez being called a loser. Mean. Oh yeah, Sean, definitely. Lovely spot. Bailey says, how difficult is it to get around Paris with no particular skill in French? Not too difficult. Tourist city, isn't it? You can get by. It's the plan, Sean. It's just I can't really afford it at the minute. I'd love a holiday. I also have a house that needs a lot of love. And, you know, raising 2 kids. Lara Valkyria and Raquel Rodriguez is clearly an option. We seem to be on a mental health spiral with Bailey, which is an interesting story. I like the concept of which one. That was a terrible ad-lib, and I will remember it for the rest of my life. That got Lyra Valkyrie over more than anything I've ever seen in my whole damn life. That works for me. I like that. It was incredibly awkward. And she just was like, yeah, keep going. I've been there. I tried to shake the hand of Tomohiro Ishii. He wanted to do a fist bump. It got awkward. It got awkward. Anyway, Noob says, can we stop Roxanne Perez from acting a little brat? To be honest, with Roxanne teaming up with Punk to deal with Rollins and Becky, as much as I love the concept, and I do think that will happen eventually, at the minute she's kind of a necessary cog in the Judgment Day heel group. Of course, this may all change if Dominik loses the championship here. Beginning at the end and all that jazz. Dominik Mysterio having easily one of the worst mustaches in known history. I love the guy. He's amazing. So let's edit our title. Nice easy one from here. AJ Styles is still definitely the bigger name. Not by much. Not anymore. He's still definitely the bigger name. Coot says, I'm wondering where AEW goes with no Swerve and no Ospreay for a good chunk of time. Thankfully, they do have enough talent to keep it fresh and keep it new. I do think, unfortunately, they fall back on the MJF train. And a lot of pressure is on that guy's shoulders. But it always has been. Aaron says that they're going back to unique stages for PLEs. Between this and SummerSlam, they've been more unique than what they were doing for a while. I would imagine so, but I think it depends what country they're in. For most American PLEs, they're not going to treat it like a big deal. I know we've had this match already and quite recently. This feels bigger. It might have something to do with the crowd. And the crowd are already off again. Oh, clever. No, that's genius. That's exactly what he should have done in that situation. I'd be surprised if he wasn't told to do that. That is exactly what he should have done. Cheap shot, quick advantage. Get the crowd really, really against the guy. I don't think you need any reason to hate Dominik Mysterio, but what's one more? Dominik should have a chance here to make it nicely uneven. Don't know how long it'll last because, you know, AJ Styles and Dominik's already down. AJ nearly put his head through a table there. Are we seriously already going into another commercial? We're already going into another commercial break. Sean, I don't think anyone's actually against Dominik Mysterio. I think Dominik Mysterio has Logan Paul energy. Like, in a good way. I think if Logan Paul wasn't already there, Dominik would be in his spot. He's that detestable. There is the argument to be made that he is a natural successor to Eddie Guerrero. Everything about him, even looks like his dad. Why not embrace it, you know? Why not? They keep talking about AJ's success about this one time he won a championship in a different place. Maybe mention all of the championships that he has won, because this is a hugely decorated man. If they decided tomorrow that he was going to beat Cody Rhodes for the championship, if they decided tomorrow he was going to beat Seth Rollins for the championship, no one would be surprised, no one would be upset. He's at that level, and yet WWE keep referring to, yeah, he won a belt in a different country once. You gotta do more than that, guys. It's like the Finn Balor thing. He was the first ever Universal Champion. Yeah, you've retired that belt. It was so good you got rid of it. I stand by it, Sean. There's been some bad mustaches, don't get me wrong. But I stand by it. Dominik Mysterio all the way. Dominik just got a boot to the gut because AJ was so committed to going over that barricade. Dominik telling the ref not to count? No. He was just checking him. We're on a commercial break and I've got 2 matches left to cover, and we've only got about an hour left of Raw. So let's talk about John Cena versus Logan Paul. This was match of the night. John Cena was also, to a degree, carried, which is a weird thing to say, but it is something I'd not just said, but also stand by. Logan Paul carried John Cena. Now, Cena still did his part. He picked his moments to turn it on, but the pacing was decided by Logan Paul, and the crowd, thankfully, made it nice and easy for John Cena to take lots of little breaks as the match happened. Logan Paul continues to earn major plaudits backstage, and after the loss to Cena, I would expect him not to be seen too much. John Cena should take the opportunity to vanish for a little bit, but we'll start to see Brock Lesnar soon. He is, of course, down to single figures, so it looks like the feud after John Cena the feud after Brock Lesnar will likely be the final one. It won't be Logan Paul. I think it should be, now I've mentioned Jacob Fatu, I'm going to go further. I actually think it should be Dominik Mysterio. A heel who's already hated but isn't necessarily at the top championship level, retiring John Cena clean. And yes, I said clean. Give him the actual win. That's where I'm going personally. Jacob Fatu's vanished. He's taking a break. He'll be back soon, no doubt. But Dominik Mysterio picking up that win, I think he'd benefit most from it. Cena needs to work with someone new before it's all over. If Brock Lesnar ends up being his last opponent, what the hell world are we living in? What the hell world? As regards Brock Lesnar, there was no intention for him to feature at Clash in Paris. While there was plenty of dirt sheets intimating that it was going to happen, and plenty of people pretending they knew it was going to happen, nothing happened. Brock Lesnar didn't travel, and as I mentioned previously, WWE didn't really want to pay for him. They didn't want to pay his fee, they didn't want to pay his travel. They didn't want to waste time with him. They felt they could put on a great match where John Cena beats Logan Paul and everyone gets on with their lives. They do, Declan, and they still sometimes refer to Becky as the first SmackDown Women's Champion, but they don't really mention Charlotte. Bailey says, with Roman taking a break, does this give Paul Heyman a vacation as well? Paul Heyman, I think, does deserve some time off, to be blunt, but he is in the creative meetings. He was in the creative meeting for Raw. Sean says, would you say Baron Corbin benefited from retiring Kurt Angle? Yeah, I do. The hatred that people held, lovely work. The hatred in which people held Baron Corbin because he retired Kurt Angle was a platform on which Baron Corbin stood for the following 2 years. It's what took him up towards that main event spot, working with Roman. Now, admittedly, after that, things did start to fall apart, but it was not Baron Corbin's fault. He could have been a world champion. He was ready. The WWE pulled out. And it's not often Vince... No. Was going too far. Alright, Joey, how you doing, mate? If you want to save money, the easiest way to save money in WWE is to get rid of Brock Lesnar. That's all I'll say. The man is expensive. We spoke a little bit about it, Joey. I've reiterated what I've reported previously on AJ Lee. The WWE are interested. It is AJ who isn't. We'll see if something has changed for that. The other Mike says, I did have Dom in my top 3 last opponents for Cena, but when Dom wins, he needs to at least be fighting for the big championships in 2026, and dare I say, winning one. Dominik versus Cody. Beats Cena in December, wins the Rumble, faces Cody at WrestleMania. Now, I wouldn't have him win it. I'd have him lose that match. And then sort of by the end of the year come back around and get the championship by hook or crook. Maybe even a Money in the Bank. But probably a Money in the Bank briefcase that he wins from someone else. Maybe have Finn Balor win the briefcase. And when there's a big split, Dominik uses Finn's hatred of him to get the briefcase and cash in on Cody. I can see it working. I just start doing booking videos. I mean, why not? Declan says, why haven't we seen Becky yet? For the same reason we haven't seen Seth yet, and the same reason we've only briefly seen CM Punk. They'll turn up. Oh, ye've so little faith. Just enjoy what we have. Beautiful moments we have together. With AJ Styles and Dominik Mysterio. I mean, to be fair, the other Mike, it does fit better a briefcase than a Rumble win. He lie, he cheat, he steal. He lie, he cheat, he steal. Lots of Styles chants, but Dominik is playing defensive. Quite nicely as well. Flying nothing into an atomic drop. I'm annoyed the crowd didn't pop for that because that was quite fun. That was a Nakamura nut shot. Speaking of, I got a lot of hate for confirming PWTorch's Wade Keller's report that Shinsuke Nakamura would be slowly written off WWE TV and his contract would not be renewed. Been a while since we've seen Shinsuke Nakamura. Tornado DDT, very nice. I don't know, I'm feeling AJ for this. I wasn't expecting to going into the match, but I don't know. Long forgotten, of course, is that at WrestleMania, Karrion Kross and AJ Styles are working together. Long forgotten. Big cheers for AJ as he gets his rotation going. Oh, no. Is he doing the... Oh. He does a suplex into the neck breaker. I miss when it was Styles versus Moxley. There's a type of suplex that Moxley loves where he does a vertical lift and then he takes the head and throws them forwards and they land on their back. It's like suplexing someone the wrong way. You have to be very athletic to get the rotation required to do it safely. AJ Styles could always do it safely. He was kind of the only one. There was a couple of more people Mox hit with it, and I'd imagine it's bigger in AEW than it is in WWE. But AJ made it look fantastic. And I miss it. Going for a Styles Clash, well reversed by Dominik. I still kind of think we're going to see an AA. Like, why not? The Mullet-O-Matic. A Mullet-O-Matic. We live in a ridiculous world. Briefcase does nothing for Becky Declan. I don't think she wants to win it. She'll want someone up and coming to win it. Given current storylines, Kairi Sane won't be a bad shout. The other Mike, not wrong, says AJ's WrestleMania catalogue is terrible and it's so weird. His best match came against Shane McMahon. Genuinely a good match. Like, his matches with Randy were okay. His match with Nakamura was alright, I guess. His match with Jericho was terrible. Rumour is that, of course, that Vince McMahon offered to have Ryback steamroll AJ Styles at WrestleMania. Vince did not like this guy. Jericho did. Declan mentions AJ versus Undertaker, which was alright for what it was. Michinoku Driver going into Styles' real history now. The Edge match was bad. Everyone was just waiting for something to happen, and when it did, it was not related to the match at all. It was Damian Priest. Completely forgot about the AJ Omos tag team. Completely forgot. He's had a career in WWE, hasn't he? It's been quite the 10 years. Eddie chant from the fans. Decent frog splash. I don't love Dominik's frog splash. I do think he can do better. But I also think it's unfair to compare because Montez Ford exists. Ain't nobody frog splashing like Montez Ford. I can't remember what Dominik's finisher is. I'm not sure he's won enough matches. Lovely reversal of 619, far too close to the ropes. Wrong leg, wrong leg. Someone with the experience of AJ Styles grabbing the wrong leg is the most insulting thing you can do. There is no way he grabs the wrong leg. Oh, brainbuster. The LA Knight match was okay, actually. I was pleasantly surprised by that. I did not expect it to be as good as it was. And yes, Declan, I do have a bit of a squeaky chair. I do apologise, guys. I try and stay as still as I can. Is this the moment for El Grande? Yes, it is. Going for the steel face. I never get why the refs aren't more confused. Like, AJ's down in the ring. What do you think happened? I think potentially Styles gets the knees up and rolls this. No, he just takes it. Ah. That's disappointing. Good match. Kind of paint by numbers. I do feel like they told us exactly what was going to happen, and I probably should have believed them. But I decided to vote with my heart there, and now I'm sad. Even the referee looks sad. Oh, it's a lovely brainbuster. It's the fact that El Grande Americano never puts a metal plate in until after. Like, you could just be ready. You could just be ready. Yeah, the LA Knight AJ Styles feud was weird. It was just angry. And unnecessarily angry most of the time. Dominik Mysterio going for some mega. He's after all a Digimon. Bailey says El Grande hit him in the ribs, not the head. I think he's just going for whatever he could hit. Enjoyed the facial expression there from Michael Cole as regards the two greatest luchadors in the world. So I'd imagine we're going to start the build to the main event now. We're getting a recap as regards Roman. This would be a great time for Seth to turn up. Or, as is, I feel, more likely, for Becky to turn up, distract Punk, then Seth to turn up. Could happen during the match, I suppose. Depends how overbooked you want to go. And why not? They're showing the Roman win, they're showing the Shula Fowler, naturally Heyman tapping. I swear I just saw Mr. Beast in the crowd. I don't want to have seen that. And that wonderful moment when Bron Breakker made a fool out of me. Made a fool out of me, he did. I believed him. And then he goes and does that. Brutalising him. If Bronson Reed goes back into War Games, and there is a strong chance he's going to, he's definitely going to do another tsunami off the top of the cage. I'm saying it now. You heard it here first. He will definitely do that. All that damage to Jey done by one spear. Like he took one spear. Bronson Reed wanted to splash him and he was told no. It was one spear. Destroyed Jey. I feel like having the main event the next night is not exactly a punishment. Not exactly a punishment. Injury updates, what do we got? Multiple fractured ribs, otherwise known as a Nakuma injury. Oh, I expected a lot more there. We've had an hour and a half of no Jey Uso and no LA Knight. I'd have probably slid this interview in about an hour ago. But it does make a bit more sense now that Dominik versus AJ wasn't the main event. Unsatisfying. The cross-eyed line didn't work the first time. Why are you doubling down on it? Noob says, good luck to Jey and LA Knight because they're definitely with those animals in the main event. Sorry, if you do dirt, you get dirt. What does that mean? I like quieter Jey. There's a killer in there. Like, he does his catchphrases all for the fun, but he is capable of just getting a bit more serious if the moment calls for it, and we haven't seen that Jey Uso. Oh, they're advertising NXT. Oh, NXT's in trouble. Yeah, NXT's in trouble. They do not often do this. CM Punk's got a Rhea Ripley to talk to. I mean, if you want an equalizer for Becky, you don't get much better. Surely we're going to have Seth at some point. The idea that there's only one entrance is so ridiculous. CM Punk's going looking for a fight. We will be seeing Becky today. Been to the Louvre? Sai says an LA Knight heel turn is incoming tonight. We do seem closer than we've been for a while. And Sean says, not many happy fans over the result of the Intercontinental title match. Well, I mean, is it worth listening to them? If you're talking about Twitter, it ain't. I promise you it ain't. So, we don't have long left of Raw. This is a commercial break, so let's talk about the main event from Clash in Paris. Seth Rollins versus CM Punk versus LA Knight versus Jey Uso. The plan was very much to put a spotlight on all of these men, and I think by and large the match achieved that, but the real focus is not on Jey Uso, the real focus is not on LA Knight. Neither of them really needed to be there. They were just trying to keep them hot and keep them developing. The real story at the moment is, once again, as it feels like it has been for nearly 2 years, Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. Becky Lynch being added to that does indeed tell us that we are having a mixed tag match incoming. But we already knew that Becky Lynch would eventually join the Vision. This is not news to us. I reported this after WrestleMania. So this does not change anything. As I've mentioned, the WWE are interested in AJ Lee. They are hoping to bring her in to work alongside CM Punk. They've just made some money by getting rid of Karrion Kross, so they can offer AJ Lee a very lucrative deal. It is AJ Lee who has historically said no. And I will mention once again, a name change to April has been mentioned. We're doing a weird thing at the minute. The funeral for the tag team division, when its heels, upset at the lack of championships that are currently held by other heels. If you want them, go and get them. Go and get them. Are they going to summon The Undertaker? It's hilarious that they're doing this vignette during a commercial break. Genuinely strange. Genuinely strange. They do seem to be heading back towards their pasta roots, which was never a good look, but for a good thing. Like, the fact that it was a bad look was kind of what they were going for. You've come back from commercial break to a commercial for boxing. What is going on? Really? You're using What's Up Danger? That is a Wrestleverse song, thank you very much. Wrestleverse? Spider-Verse. Not a Wrestleverse song. What am I talking about there? We are heading into our main event, but typically, Raw, SmackDown, whatever it is, they flood this particular moment with commercial breaks, with ads for other shows. This is the moment when they basically say, nobody's tuning out now, it's just before the main event. We can give them whatever we want and they'll just stick around. This is not a fun section. We'll undoubtedly get a advertisement for next week's Raw. We'll get an advertisement for SmackDown. We'll have adverts plugged into us in every direction. It's not fun. Joey says, I'm over this Americano gimmick. It's overstayed its run. Yeah. And there we have Rusev's follow-up, which hopefully is good. We need to know what he's doing next. Ricky says, hey Tom buddy, happy Monday. Hope you had a good weekend. Do you see Bayley showing up next week on Monday? I see another vignette for Bayley. I don't necessarily see her. Sean says, which part of the show would people tune out on, Tom? Historically, most people tune out here. The end of the second hour, beginning of the third. So it's amazing that they're willing to do this. Historically, that's what happens with the ratings. The reference to the French spirit was awkward. Awkward. Bayley, I don't know what's going on with Ludwig Kaiser. We haven't seen him in ages. I kind of miss him. I was hoping he was going to get some sort of push or at least some sort of focus, and he's just disappeared. I feel like I haven't seen him in months. Wherever he is, I hope he's okay. We're going to get Jey Uso now. Oh, no. Okay, so they're trying to keep our attention. We technically still have a half hour. Logically, CM Punk's just going to sit at ringside and wait for Seth to turn up. I feel like this night's going to end with the Vision, including Becky, standing over the prone bodies of Punk, Jey Uso, and LA Knight. An AJ Lee reference in the crowd already. Welcome, Punk. Welcome, Kaplunk. Hi, Phil. Hope Paris are enjoying him because he's not going to be there much longer. Still basking in it. As furious as he is, he's still basking in it. I won't argue that there have definitely been moments when CM Punk's been hotter. But he's on a great run at the moment. He's putting on great matches. And the fact that in his entirety of his return he's been champion for about a minute, I like that. I do kind of wish he'd work with someone a bit lower down the card for once, though. I'd like to see him get beat up by a Bron Breakker. I'd like to see him wrestle a solo. I'd just like to see him a bit lower down the card. Fiend, welcome. Says disappointed that AJ lost. You're not wrong, mate. Me too. My heart hurts. They immediately cut to someone in the crowd flipping him off. Logically, Becky's music. Man to man. The man. Logically, Becky's music. Oh no, Seth. I did enjoy the reaction there from Punk. He wasn't actually expecting it. Becky's definitely going to be involved here. There she is. A very good facsimile of a Seth Rollins cosplay as well. So it wasn't Seth's music, but it is in fact Becky. When he said man to man, you know where that's going. She suits the entrance and the attire. That's the look. It's like she's gone from being a heel to being a heel. Play orchestra. Play orchestra. You have to let the ego out. You're not quite there yet, Becky. He's going to tell you off for not playing orchestra. Don't interrupt him. Let him enjoy it. Let him enjoy it. That's it. That lean. That's it. Sean says, surprise, Seth and Becky are working with each other again. They didn't like it back in 2019. Back in 2019, they were paired up because they were in a relationship. Right now, they're paired up as the top of the industry. Very different scenario. Yes, that's correct, Fiend. It was a cynical pair up. Oh, no, Joey. I don't see any connection whatsoever. I still look at it as evolution. You said you were hijacking the show and now you're leaving. Like, be consistent. Come on, Punk. You can do it. Which, to be clear, she is not lying. When she says greatest man, like, the love is real as far as I'm aware. I regret saying that. I regret anything that might imply that it's not. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. They've let Becky off the chain here. They've dropped the bullet points. This is a challenge from Punk. Oh, real. Real. The crowd actually kind of got behind her there. That is split. Oh, again, real? Oh, she's turning him. She's actually turning him. Yes, Fiend, we are expecting teasers. Like, just to be clear, Becky's right. I'm not a Punk guy, never have been. I do think he took his ball and he ran. And the CM Punk chants that followed, for a while, every women's match, CM Punk chants. It was offensive. Didn't even have to say his name. She's doing the Donald Trump thing now. Okay, she's gone from a Donald Trump impression to a Vince McMahon impression. You don't fit the vision. Okay, we're going into phase 2 of the vision here. She's going to take over. Not a good line. anyone else said this, it'd be accused of arrogance. And I think he's trying to. Your point? You're not going to do well listing towns in the UK. The French aren't going to like that. To be clear, they absolutely were there. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. That would have been much more impactful if he'd just gone there. What is happening here? I mean, he's been going for a long time. It's kind of boring now. Oh, has he appeared? He has indeed. What the hell are those boots? Fickle. Fickle. He ain't hiding nowhere. She just doesn't like you. No, Fiend. I think he lost because he was booked to lose either way. Logically, if Punk goes up there, we're going to see Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. Yeah, Becky was always going to do this. You got to go through her. That's what she's saying. That's what she's telling you. She's made it very clear. This is not a situation of him hiding. It's a situation of her standing in the way by choice. By choice. She's the boss now. Yeah, she's enjoying that. He's told her to go for it. He's told her to go for it. If you're going to have an AJ Lee, now's the time. Rhea? You got no friends all of a sudden, Punk? Look how happy she is. This could go many ways. Oh, I let the snot out. Eventually, Fiend, I'm sure that's going to happen. It's just very tense. Also, can I just say the trousers are very Bray Wyatt coded. The crowd are kind of going in for it. Okay, that was actually a pretty good use of the bit between the final matches. That got lovely and heated. Gone very dark. Let's see what it is when the lights come up. Oh, Sean, I guarantee you Becky has told CM Punk to have a GTS ready for her. I guarantee you. No, I agree, Liam. I agree. I feel like they've convinced AJ Lee to come back. Yeah, Sean, I'm definitely tired of CM Punk and Seth Rollins, but I think Becky Lynch has added a new dynamic that I'm enjoying. And so we head into our main event. I reckon we're going to get, what, 10-15 minutes of wrestling here? Another 2 commercial breaks. Like, you just had Seth Rollins in your grasp, Jay, and you did nothing. You did nothing. I feel like that particular storyline has only just begun. And again, I don't need to see another Seth versus Punk match. It's not going to do anything for me. But the Becky Lynch element, that's interesting. So our main event will be, who's the biggest name? Jey Uso and LA Knight versus Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. And this is the point at which we say, what party at the end? Dean says, does Brock appear on Friday? Would make the most sense. Joey says, WWE going to need big names on the first ESPN PLE since they're going against All In. I'd imagine Stephanie Vacker and Io Sky might be part of that. But I would also suggest we're going to see something involving the Vision. I'm sure they'll slip Jey Uso in there. That's what he's there for. We'll see a Jey versus Bron match or something like that. Oh, Drew Cody could be fun. Depends how available Cody is. Okay, this will be one of our last commercial breaks. Looking at the time, I'd imagine this will actually be our last commercial break. Because once this is over, we've only really got 10 minutes of Raw left. He's not himself, and I like that. I feel like this is adding a bit more to the Jey Uso character. He's ready for a fight. He's eager for a fight. Dylan is suggesting we're going to see Punk and Lyra. I would say we're going to see Punk and Rhea. And this will then keep Rhea away from Asuka for at least a moment. Before we then have Asuka screwing over Io. Then we can move towards Rhea. That distraction means that it leaves a door open for someone else to work with Punk. But it seemed pretty clear to me that they were pairing them up. And hey, they are friends. Okay, so LA Knight definitely saw the sign that says talk, lose, repeat, yeah. He looked that right in the eye. That was an insult to him. Sean, I don't know for certain, but I know that WWE are eager to do so. I think if anything, CM Punk has convinced AJ Lee. His music makes me think of San Andreas every time I hear it. Reminds me of my days rolling as CJ. I crashed so many planes into skyscrapers. So many. A lot of casinos would have blown up. I was bad at the flying that game. Once you lost track of it, you really lost track of it, you know? I think I replay that game every 4 or 5 years. I still haven't finished Grand Theft Auto 5. I keep getting about 2/3 of the way through and then just getting bored. It's when they unlock all the businesses. But because of the way it works, I can't make enough money as each character to go and open all the businesses. And I want all the businesses. Any Grand Theft Auto game, the second I can get a business, I'll get a business. Because I'm a capitalist, but only in games. I want the money. And if you're not willing to give me the money, I end up getting bored of the game. I've been replaying Final Fantasy X recent. And I made a point of finding a lot of cactiles and getting a lot of riches very early on. And now I'll play Blitzball. And I get return spheres, which are going to be important. Well, I like that, Adam Pearce. Here's the good news. You know where he works. Fair. SmackDown's in Chicago. Thought we might see you there. What do you mean, why? What do you mean, why? Fiend says, can we get AJ Lee in 2K26? That's a big one. I'm assuming that'll happen too. Again, she would need to be convinced to license herself for it. Bailey says the commercial break still features Hulk Hogan selling his beer. That's a little dark. Yeah, that's awkward. Liam says, could we see AJ Lee debut on SmackDown / return? I don't know. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say anything has happened concrete because I don't know. There are things I knew would happen. Becky Lynch joining the Vision, for example. The Seth Rollins heel turn at WrestleMania. I reported that at the time as well. Becky returning at WrestleMania as a heel. Now, admittedly, she wasn't a heel during that, but she did turn heel the next night. So there are things I can report, and there are things I do report. This is not something I can report with any certainty. I don't like to pretend. I don't like to sit here and hint at things and then say, oh, I knew, even when I don't. Sometimes, I don't know. And on this one, unfortunately, I don't know. Our main event has just started. There is definitely not a lot of Raw left. Jey Uso and Bronson Reed starting. Surprised there wasn't a fight to decide who was going to start that one. Noob says the last thing Punk is going to... He's back to Chicago on a random SmackDown. I mean, he absolutely is. Maybe he'll get involved with Brock. Referee just letting Jay and LA Knight beat the crap out of Bronson Reed. Fair play. He's only kind of gone down though. There's not enough tornado tag matches. This is the perfect time for a tornado tag match. Why does nobody fancy it? It's right there. It's right there. Fiend says further establishing that the brand split doesn't matter. It doesn't. Triple H is just not a fan of the concept. Never have been. I remember reporting that. And it was funny seeing people react to it like, how? Well, I mean, there's still one. Is he getting rid of it? No. He's slowly getting rid of it. He's pretending it doesn't matter. It's a wild card rule all over again. Robin Dave, you alright? Says, hey Tom, hoping for AJ Lee, but this is wrestling. So I really hope so. You're entitled to believe what you want to believe, mate. I don't want to kill your dreams. I don't want you to kill your hopes. I don't know. I'm also kind of believing. Kind of believing. Bronson Reed missed the boot. went for a clothesline. I've mentioned it before in this show. If you botch, don't do the same thing again. He missed the boot, so he just whacks him in the back of the head. I applaud it. Adapt. Joey says the network's going to force Triple H to hold a draft again. They failed this year. I suspect they'll fail the next one. What Triple H wants is his top stars able to go everywhere. That's all he wants. He wants his top stars everywhere at all times. That includes NXT. Are we seriously going to another commercial break? Yes, we are. Jesus. Well, they managed to slip one in, didn't they? Sean says, was Becky a heel when she returned at SummerSlam in 2021? I believe that was when she beat Bianca. Yeah, that was the birth of Big Time Bex. FYI, I reported that would happen the day before. I was called a liar by PWInsider and Fightful. Then it happened. Joey says, I never liked the draft shows. I did and I didn't. It's nice seeing people turn up that you don't necessarily expect. But the big names didn't really happen as they did under people like Vince. Bailey says, Bianca has never been a main roster heel, correct? Correct. She's been a bit of a tweener, she's been a bit of a tease, but she's never been a heel. Like, flat out bad guy. Taking the time here, working towards an LA Knight hot tag. Someone's trying to get the guy over. I'm surprised we haven't got a storyline about Bron Breakker trying to retrieve the Shula Fowler. I mean, they had that for like 4 months with Roman. Dylan says, do you see Bron Breakker being the reason Seth loses the title at Mania? Because I do. Not this Mania, but I do suspect Seth versus Bron is our end game. I've mentioned that before. Bron Breakker is the guy who's going to come out of this on top. If anything, he over-rotated with that standing moonsault. It was too impressive. The fact that his back says the future is prophetic. Ooh, Wade Barrett saying it was a lucky win for Roman. It wasn't decisive, sure, but it was still a win. They are really working to put over Bron here. And of course Bronson. That's probably who I should have said. Teasing the tag again. Building towards that hot one. WWE, they're big on the hot ones. I don't know how this is going to go. Seth could return. It could be that they didn't actually go anywhere. I mean, he got in the building somehow. So we could still end up with the 3-on-3 with Becky Lynch turning the tide. I also think it's possible the heels just straight win. Both Knight and Jey are carrying injuries, carrying knocks. Hot tag is in action. They're both carrying knocks. They both could feasibly lose this without losing too much momentum or credibility. Whereas Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed are on a high and could do with continuing that. Good catch. Oh, we're going to build to another hot tag, are we? Fiend says, when do they do Becky Lynch in a shark cage? I don't really know about Becky and Seth's personal life. Lovely little elbow drop. Selling his guts even though it's his back that's the problem, that'll do it. Lovely work by Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. LA Knight properly going into the steps. Not like John and his kneel down and push. Someone's trying to get an LA Knight chant going. Not quite working out. Kevin says, how was this show so far? Good. Good. The matches themselves have been okay, varying between average and good. The opening segment was pretty good. Becky Lynch was amazing. Becky Lynch was worth tuning in for. I was very happy with that promo segment. If you're only going to watch a couple of highlights, those are the highlights to watch. The main event so far has been there. They're still in that part of the match where it doesn't really matter. Yes, Sean, LA Knight traded to Raw, Sami Zayn to SmackDown. Says a lot that they were considered to be worthy swaps. Sami Zayn could very easily have been in the spot that LA Knight's in. I don't necessarily think the opposite is true. Little leg shake from LA Knight, nice. I was briefly surprised by how erect his nipples were. He's having a good day, apparently. They are excitable. Jey Uso is, I want to say, taken off the tape. That or he's just threatening to expose himself, which I'm not really there for. Again, slow motion. So much so that they're actually calling it on commentary. They're actually calling on commentary that this is slow motion. Gotta be careful with that, guys. You're giving too much of the game away. So they've had the first hot tag, they're now building towards a second hot tag. Fiend says, Tom, how do you think they should book Sami Zayn as US champion? I don't think they should have. I think he should have been winning the Royal Rumble. I think as US champion, he should lose it relatively early, go off TV for a bit, and then win the Royal Rumble. I still wanted to win the Royal Rumble. Can you tell? Can you tell? I'd also argue that the crowd aren't very into this. Maybe they're just tired after the Punk section. I think Sami versus Seth makes the most sense to me. They did seem to be building towards that until suddenly Sami was on SmackDown. I don't know how we got there. We abandoned where we were going and just started something completely different. Second hot tag. Jey is no longer taped. Jey, no, Joe. I know he is. It's just a belt now. He's doing the Rock spit a lot. Declan says Sami versus Cody. I don't see it. Doesn't make much sense to me as a unit. Fiend says, does Seth go on a reign of terror where he eventually gets it back from Sami? Or does another member get it back and Seth turns on them? Don't know. We're talking about a future in which Sami Zayn wins it, and I don't see Sami Zayn winning it anymore. I just don't. Like, if we want to get to Bron Breakker, if we want to do the evolution thing, then yes, we do a reign of terror and Seth gets it back. But that's not exactly doing great things for Sami. His last championship reign, the Intercontinental Championship, was much the same. Really hyped up win, then he quickly just dropped it again. Bronson Reed does love that over the top drop. He does love that. I'm glad to see them doing shorter suicide dives now. Because with the tables as they are, you're going to hurt yourself. I'd say we're going to the finish, but I can see Bronson Reed getting ready. You're letting your legs lean out. They give the game away so much when they do that. They telegraph the hell out of it. Elbow drop for a table? I mean, we've got tables. Okay, so logically, based on what I'm seeing, Bronson Reed's about to run into the post? Nope, Jey's moved. I mean, it worked for Rusev, Fiend. A lot of people still remember it, and if people still remember it, it worked for you. Sometimes getting over is really simple. Everyone's got a super kick nowadays. It's not a good spear. Bron Breaker's vanished, which means Bron Breaker's about to be seen again. When you're in a match with a Bron Breaker, though, just don't do a spear. Just don't do it. Why did he stand up? That's why he stood up. What did I just say? Legal man. That is a clean win. A clean win over an injured Jey Uso. Bron Breaker's holding his head. I do not believe he's injured, and I refuse to believe he's ever injured. Even if I literally was in the room while he was having surgery, I would still refuse to believe it. No Seth Rollins. No Becky Lynch. Just a win for Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. This is the moment when he needs more backup. Is Punk going to get involved here? Seems the obvious choice. We've mentioned Jimmy previously. I mean, we've mentioned Sammy. It's not an impossibility. Oh, LA Knight back in play. Just seemingly trying to survive here. Spear. Yeah. Good sell. Good sell. Wanted the kip up. Knight rolled into his zone. Knight rolled into his zone. He'll find another opportunity. Get Jey up for another spear? Why not? Bronson Reed monitoring LA Knight. Bronson calling for another tsunami. No, not necessarily, Fiend. WWE do not exactly love The Rock's work. There it is. Rolled through. Bronson Reed is not reaching that far, mate. Come on. Bronson Reed's not getting that far. Think about it. Well, I dare say Jay's going to be joining Roman in the hospital. We do have a Jimmy Uso on hand. With a chair. I dare say Usos versus Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed is on. Might see that on SmackDown. Suggest we're now at the point where SmackDown needs the entirety of the vision to keep it relevant. Jimmy Uso protecting his boy. Means we could potentially be building towards a Jacob Fatu versus Bron Breakker feud. Just going to throw that out there because it's a very exciting concept. Jimmy Uso's quietly gotten over since the spotlight went off him. He needed the spotlight off him to get there, and I ain't going to blame him for that. Sometimes people do wither under the spotlight, and you do need a moment away. Okay, Raw. Bit pain by numbers. I'm sticking to a B-. I like what Becky Lynch did. I like the opening segment. I like Jey Uso and the way he was used. That's as far as I'm going. Outside of that, pretty bog standard. But decent match between Dominik and AJ. Main event happened. Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed continue to look very good. I ain't disappointed by it. However, at this point, we are done. It is 9:45 here in the UK. I need to wrap this up and find myself something to eat. So, I'm going to do what I always do at this point. I'm going to take the opportunity to say, I've been Tom Colohue, you've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.